Next up in the featherweight division, we got veteran Dan Ige coming in at plus 180, going up against the streaking Melquizael Costa, who comes in at minus 210. Starting off on the Dan Ige side of things, this guy is the veteran's veteran, right? This guy goes out there and he's fought the best and the worst that the featherweight division has had to offer him. When he fights the best, probably comes up short. When he fights the middling guys, he goes out there and finishes them. When he's fighting the bottom of the barrel guys, he finishes them even quicker. He's a BJJ black belt, but he often leans on his slick boxing approach to land combinations, outpoint his opponents, and either knock them out or just outpoint them and win a decision. Now he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but you can see, the level of guys he's coming up short against and the level of guys he's beating. Knocks out Andre Fili, loses a close decision to Diego Lopez, loses a pretty obvious decision to Lerone Murphy, knocks out Sean Woodson. That was a weird one. I think that fight took place in Toronto as well, but that was a fight where I thought Woodson would be able to outbox Ige from distance, and it was looking that way. But then after the finish happened, it was a little bit of a controversial finish, but finish nonetheless. You get the scorecards, and you see that all 3 judges scored the first 2 rounds for Dan Ige. So they thought that he was doing better work than the sniping approach that Woodson was taking. And then after that, he goes up against Patricio Pitbull. Rough first 2 rounds. It seemed like he was a little bit muzzled by the power that was potentially coming back his way from Pitbull, which allowed Pitbull to land more significant strikes through those first 2 rounds, or at least more impactful shots, the more eye-catching shots. And then Ige started to pick it up in the 3rd round and had a strong 3rd round, but just couldn't muster up enough to get a finish or a 10-8, so he ends up losing a decision that night. He's still 34, so he's still close enough to his prime to, be a solid gatekeeper for the top 15. But we know for sure he's not a guy that's ever going to, be close enough to a title shot or contend for a title by any means. Now he's going up against Melquizael Costa, who is absolutely streaking. He had a breakout 2025. He's on a 5-fight winning streak, 4 of those coming last year, and 2 of those 4 wins being by finish, 3 of those 5 wins being by finish as well. Submitted Andre Fili with the guillotine, stopped most of the takedowns from Christian Rodriguez, and just landed more shots on the feet. I was pretty confident in Christian Rodriguez that night, but I felt if he started leaning more on his striking, he would have had a little bit more success, but he seemed to gas himself a little bit with those desperation takedowns, and Costa played that fight perfectly. Then he gets the decision win over Julian Erosa, and then he knocks out Morgan Charrier to end off his 2025 campaign. That was surprising. I picked Costa to win. I think I bet him that night too. And I just thought his activity level would allow him to get ahead of Charrier. But it was a nasty head kick that ended up dropping the Frenchman and giving the Brazilian the dub there. Now he's getting the biggest fight of his career going up against a veteran like Dan Ige. This is a fight where I believe the nastier shots from Costa, the kicking game from Costa, the activity from Costa will thwart the boxing approach of Ige. Now, Ige could have success if his durability holds up, a guy that's never been finished. If he can crash the pocket and make Costa uncomfortable, maybe he can land some combinations to hurt the Brazilian fighter. So that's what's going to keep me off the chalk from Costa. If Costa drops to about minus 150, minus 185 even, I would probably consider a shot on him there. But I feel like this is a fight where his range could come into play, his kicks will come into play, and he can really batter Ige from distance. I like Costa here, not so much at minus 210, but I still think he ends up landing more significant strikes, the better shots, the more eye-catching shots, and I think that leads to him winning this fight on the scorecards.